and welcome to the Writing Classroom. Hello children, hello families, hello teachers. We're working as a collective in an interconnected way where I read your work, I see your hard effort and I can see that you're working really well and I get new ideas from you. We get motivated from each other because we know that we're all here thinking together. And our work has improved over these last few units and I truly am zinging with excitement to work with this film. It started as a picture book and went on to be an award-winning, Oscar-winning film. So really excited about today, in fact, and we're going to do it real justice in how we think about the language that we're using. So you're very welcome. If it's your first time, you're most welcome. We're a global classroom. We have people writing from Belgium, Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, all over the world. And I'm here in England trying to help you improve. It's all about getting better. My name is Mrs. C, and everything I do in the classroom is chunked into really small parts. We really do sweat the small stuff. We don't try and take on anything that's too big. And by thinking in such a sharp way, our writing can become really vivid and precise. Now, we've got our own jingle and it's important that we gather quickly, but we write slowly. There's almost two dimensions to this. So our pacey part is our collecting, our gathering, our jotting. And some of you are chatting. I know you're chatting because you're with somebody else, working with other children, or some of you are chatting to a grown-up, and some of you are chatting to a cat. I like to do that. You're making your notes quickly, but then I give you a long time to think about your writing. So how does our jingle go? Well, it inspires us to have flames coming off our pens and pencils. Pens up, think at pace, jot quick, writing's ace. Right then, if you've not been here before, every day we do a celebration, and when I say it could be you, it seriously could be you. You get your work into me by a hashtag, and every day I showcase some of my favourites. And sometimes we do this physically on paper, sometimes we do it electronically, but we build a super sentence stacking work, which is all of the work from around the world stacked sentence by sentence to make a large collaborative piece. We work together to build a whole cohesive piece of writing. Okay, there's something I want to say today, and this is really for people who've not been here before, and there's something I want to say to people who have been here before. We work on one sheet of paper. We fold it in half down the middle. Once it's folded in half, we draw two lines on our left side to make up 3 learning chunks. And we're going to be working in this unit every day with 2 word bank spaces. I'll always indicate where we are. I'll say we're on learning chunk 1, word bank 2, so you know where to make your jottings. The other thing I'm going to say that I've started to notice around the world, in fact, is that what I want you to think about on your writing side is to think particularly in paragraphs. You know, when we work with a story, we work in plot points, and a lesson is a plot point. I want you to write in paragraphs, and before I put 30 seconds on the clock for you to get your book ready or your piece of paper ready, this is what I want your books to look like. No gaps, unless you've put them there deliberately for a layout reason, or you're dropping in new dialogue, or it's a letter and your PS is on a new line. But if it's a story, We are working to build one paragraph. Okay, everybody, 30 seconds on the clock now to get your books and paper ready. And what guides our work? Many of you have got the writing rainbow. It helps organise our thinking. And I always choose 3 distinct lenses from the writing rainbow and what is going to guide our work today. Sometimes we write through the lens of grammar. Sometimes we write through the lens of ideas or techniques. Well, here is today's focus. First things first, we're going to set the scene of this story. And we're going to use time adverbials to do that. In fact, not just adverbials. You'll notice when we start working on this, we're sometimes creating clauses to set the scene. Then we're going to work on adjectives and we're going to put them in an unusual position, so look out for that. And thirdly, we're going to use a device that's been used since time by authors for emphasis. We're going to use repetition for effect. Okay then, so really important that you listen just at this message because we're going to write a story in a particular way. You all need to write your story in this way because I need to collect your ideas in, choose my favourites and stack them on top of one another. So we need to make a cohesive decision. And I'm going to let you know that our writing is going to be a first person narrative. Now, a first person narrative is where you make a writerly decision to step into the shoes of the central character. And we have a dominant use of the pronoun I. When you write a first person narrative, it really sets in tone this sort of narration mode, this sense that you're stepping into the character's shoes and you have all the insight to their feelings, their experiences, their reflections. This is a very powerful mode for writing, and so we must keep to the pronoun I. Now, let me introduce you to the map. This is a story about Sean. Sean is a boy, but we're going to tell his story as an I first-person narrative. We are here on plot point 1, and I want to tell you a little bit more about plot point 1. I'm going to lead you into plot point 1, this really unusual day where Sean found something strange. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about Sean and what Sean is about. Sean lives in a busy, strange city. Very busy. So busy that the grown-ups only think about work. They get lost in work. They're very workaholic. And Sean notices this a lot. He likes to keep himself busy. He has hobbies. One of his hobbies is bottle collecting. Well, not bottles, in fact, bottle tops. He goes down to the beach and he's always on the lookout for new bottle tops for his collection. He sources them, he finds them, he categorises them, and he looks into those that are the same and different, and he loves it when he finds an unusual one. This story starts on the day, this seemingly ordinary day a few summers ago, when he went down to the beach to look for bottle tops, and he discovered something very strange indeed. Take a look at this. Okay, good watching. That gives us really good visual information about what Sean sees. Let's start writing, but let's break it down really slowly. What I'd like us to do first is set the scene. And I'd like us to move to Learning Chunk 1, Word Bank 1, and think about phrases and clauses that can set the scene in the past. This is going to be us now telling this story, and we want to step back in time. When is the season? Well, it's in the summer. This is an idea I've had. What about this? Last summer. What about something like this? Many months ago. Have a go now in jotting or chotting time, if you're chatting and jotting, to set the scene, maybe very specifically in the summer months, so you might want to use a specific month, but this idea of telling a story that happened in the past. Off you go, writers. I was just thinking there about more detail, a beginning here that actually is bigger than an adverbial phrase, a time phrase, but maybe a clause that sets the scene. If we look here at these two words, one evening, I could add more information there. Something like this, look, one evening when the sun was hanging heavily in the sky. Now that becomes a clause. It becomes a clause because we've got this verb chain here. When something has a verb in it, it moves from being a phrase into a clause. But it's a great beginning. I want you now to audit and add. You can watch my words, phrases and clauses that I add on, but I'm going to challenge you. Can you write me your own one evening clause? Off you go, writers. What we do in our word bank spaces is we get ready to write. We drench our thinking with vocabulary that we can pick out and apply and build into meaning-making chunks. One of the things I want to do, just at the point of discovery, where you, because you will be shorn in this writing, your day moves from being quite ordinary to being extraordinary. Because ordinarily you go down to the beach and collect bottle tops, but today something quite remarkable has happened. So I want to think across those two big ideas, the idea of ordinary and extraordinary. And I want two banks of words that pull in stark contrast, and we use them cleverly in our writing. I've had an idea, and I'm thinking now in synonym families. I'm using my thesaurus thinking. Another word for ordinary. It means boring and monotonous. Humdrum. I was having a humdrum sort of day. Extraordinary. Well, once you see that lost thing, this half sort of industrial boiler, half octopus, how bizarre. Now, bizarre is an unusual word because we have to double this consonant here. Remember, Mrs. C always says words where you double a consonant can cause spelling mistakes. But I've learnt bizarre because it's a little bit bizarre. They're my two ideas. Come on, jotters, what have you got? You might see on the screen a little box and it's coloured in yellow. That's the box that I want you to work in, the word bank, where I want you to put all of your vocabulary. So your vault is popping off with ideas and choices and options. And that's what writing is about, choosing cleverly as we craft with precision. I was thinking there about another word in the humdrum family. It was a regular sort of day. And then another word for extraordinary. What about this? This is good. Monumental. A monumental day for me and my life. Come on, audit and adders. Watch me now, add, and if you like any, you can borrow them. Off we go. Do you know what's just popped into my mind there? I've been thinking about my friend Grandma Fantastic. She loves knitting, and I often think about these word banks as a form of knitting. You pick up words almost like stitches, and and knit them into something marvellous. Shall we have a go at knitting something, creating something, tying it all together? Okay, what you're going to see me do now on writing side is, first things first, I want you to watch. I want you to think hard, and what you're going to see is my thinking process. I'm going to make out loud the thinking process, and you're going to see inside the writer's brain. I'm going to make choices, but I've got to be certain of what I'm trying to do as a writer. What's the purpose? I'm setting the scene. I'm establishing first-person narrative, and I'm building in this bit of contrast between what appears to be kind of an average sort of day has suddenly become quite remarkable. Okay, here we go then. The scene set. One evening, a few summers back. I like that. One ordinary evening. That's good. What about this? I want to tell the reader it's summer, because that's why not Mrs. C.I., Sean, I'm going to be Sean. I'm on the beach. A few summers ago. I actually like the little bit of kind of casualness about this style. So it feels more like a tell from Sean's perspective. A few summers ago, now I'm going to put in a comma there because that's just a phrase. A few summers ago, I could talk now and drop the I in here, or I could just assume it. I'm going to have a little think about that. It's a few summers ago, what seemed to be an ordinary day, what appeared to be, oh, I like that, what appeared, seemed it, let me try seem, what seemed to be, what appeared. I'm not crossing out seemed, I'm just being really finicky. It's my thinking, it's the nuts and bolts of writing. Just because I cross something out, sometimes I change my mind again. Hey, I make a lot of mistakes as well, and that's just normal. This is a safe place to make mistakes. A few summers ago, what appeared to be a very, do I need very? I quite like the emphasis of very. What appeared to be a very, look, let's test some of these out. A very average day, a very standard day, a very middle of the road day. Yes, let's use the very. A very humdrum day. Again, sort of a little bit chattier. A very humdrum day. Unexpectedly, suddenly turned into and now my thinking's down here, into a bizarre day, a peculiar day, an unbelievable day. I quite like this word. They're all good. Let's have remarkable. Into a remarkable day. I'm going to go back and reread that. A few summers ago, what appeared to be a very humdrum day suddenly turned into a remarkable day. Do you know, a lot of writing is about shape and pattern and what it looks like on the page and what it sounds like as you read it aloud. And this word here and this word here, well, we've got a match with day and day, and then we've got this sort of hint at negativity and this sort of positivity, but we haven't got very, mirroring. And that means, well, I think it'd look much better on the page and sound much better with that bit of patterning. It's a small moment of repetition for effect. Now listen to it. A few summers ago, what appeared to be a very humdrum day suddenly turned into a very remarkable day. looks better on the page, sounds better. Okay, writers, I want to see what you can do. 3 minutes is longer than you think. Think carefully and impress me with your choices. Okay, we're moving now down to learning chunk 2, and I want us to sharpen our thinking around colour. Now, I've been actually thinking myself that I could get a job at Dulux because I really do enjoy describing colours in really clever ways. And I often call this the quick simile approach, where you take objects and environments and aspects from nature, indoors and outdoors, and they inspire us to describe colours more vividly and more precisely. Now, I want you to make a choice at this point, unless, of course, you find extra time. Make a choice about how we're going to describe the beach. I want us to think about the sand, and it's really up to you now. You're really taking control of the writing. You can have yellow sand or white sand. So you've got to make a writerly choice because we don't want to mix it up. I'm going to choose white. And I've got a few ideas down there. Some are real. I've got one from my imagination as well. And this is going to inspire me to write some quick similes. When I'm writing this quick simile, I'm going to do this sort of thing. Instead of just saying the white sand or the white beach, I'm going to drop the comparison here. Unicorn, unicorn white sand, or a unicorn white beach. This little hyphen is used so the reader reads it together, and it's a really clever quick simile device. But I want us to do something more than that. I also want us to drop a positive adjective just here, so we can have it all working together as a noun phrase. So I want to think of a positive word. What about this? Shimmering unicorn white sand. Okay, writers, jotters, remember you've got two things to do here. First, make a choice. Is your sand going to be yellow or white? Once you've made that choice, I challenge you to write 2 quick similes, but they must have an adjective as well. Off you go. Okay, just so you're really certain about what we're preparing for, we're setting in motion now what the character can see. That's why we're working under the lens here from the fantastics, the ideas of writing, where not only in our story is our character seeing the yellow sand of the beach or the white sand of the beach, but our reader is alongside us. I had another idea there, and I don't want you to be misled by this idea, because I was thinking about bleach white. I don't mean bleach to clean your toilet. I mean kind of the sun has bleached it white. So it's almost like a positive bleach. So I'm going to write that down, bleach white. And then I'm going to think about a positive adjective. Blistering bleach white. Oh, that might have negative connotations. You don't want to burn the soles of your feet or sting your eyes. But glistering, I love that word. Glistening, glistering, both good words. I'm going to award it an ad now. I'm going to stick with white. If you exhaust all the ideas for your colour, you could have a go at the other colour. You've got not long, only a minute, audit and adders. Oh, brilliant stuff. I can't wait to read those. And do you know, I am just as excited by your work in your vocabulary vaults as I am by your final outcomes. It shows how hard you're thinking. It's giving you loads of options. And all of those choices we make improve our thinking as a writer. We're now going to move to Word Bank 2. And as we move over to Word Bank 2, I want us to zoom into actually a really interesting part of this story where we almost have two worlds. We have the sun beating down on the beach, and people who are hanging on the beach are noticing the nature, enjoying life a little bit more. But there's a wall. There's a wall that divides the beach and the city. And the city is strange. Adults are working too hard, long hours. Some people say they are lost in work. And I want to now hint at that as a writer. I want our wall to be a symbol to represent that actually grown-ups are working too hard in the grey city. So let's have a little think about that wall and look at it a lot closer, sorry, I should say. So this is the wall here. Let me draw an arrow so I can show you what I mean. Here is the wall. It is grey. It is drab. It represents the world of work, the world of grown-ups. You can see here rust dribbling down the wall. I want to now capture the idea of this sort of dull, sort of stained wall. I'm thinking of words to describe the wall. I'm going to write this down. The rust-tinged wall. I'm thinking of negative words here. The worn wall. The weathered wall. Weathered, weather is a homophone and sometimes we can get it wrong. Weathered. It's this sort of weather, because the weather has beaten it. Weathered wall. They're my three ideas. Can you think of some negative adjectives and phrases to describe the wall? Off you go, jotters. Well done. I was just thinking there, actually I could organise my ideas further, and if I've got better categorisation of my ideas and grouping them, it might help me make better writerly choices down the line when I'm building a sentence. Because I've just noticed here, these three words are almost about how stained the wall is or how beaten up it is. But I could think of other ideas like how colourless it is. And the sort of thing I was thinking there, I could say how drab the wall is, almost like the lack of colour. But then I had another idea which would help me elicit negative adjectives about the height of the wall. Words like dominating or towering. I think we can add more to this list. Come on, audit and adders. really good thinking. I like now how we're going to create these two worlds. The world that Sean likes to occupy, the sunny beach, more freedoms, more colours, more creative hobbies, and then the world of work. We're hinting very gently at this contrast locked in this world. Let's move to writing side and see if we can establish this now. And remember, when we are working on writing side, we are working hard to pick up choices, reject things, make decisions, make it better. Sometimes ideas pop into your head that aren't even in your word bank. And if you're a child, your teachers model to you all the time. And that's really important. But what is really crucial is that you put the thinking in before writing. And that's what these word banks are all about. They're not generally just collecting all words. We're being really pinpointed. We're being very context specific. I am sharpening your thinking down so we get the right words at the right time to do the right jobs we need as a writer. Okay, watch me now as you look inside my talk aloud process. And I'm going to start off with the positivity of each. We know we're going to have a white beach or a yellow beach, but I want this other idea. As Sean comes down the steps, as you come down the steps to tell this story, there is the shape of the beach and it curves around, the wall curves, and it makes me think of a half moon. And let's think about that for a moment. We could say the half moon curve of the beach. We could say the crescent of the beach. We could say the long arc of the beach, that shape. The hook of the beach. I quite like long arc. It sounds quite poetic. The beach was a long arc. You could switch that round, the long arc of the beach. The beach was a long arc, and now I'm going to look to these positive groupings, these quick similes with positive adjectives. The beach was a long arc of feathery daisy white sand. The beach was a long arc of powdery sugar white sand. I like this idea, but I'm going to perhaps change the adjective. The beach was a long arc of glimmering unicorn white. I'm on the lookout if you've got really unusual ones there. Unicorn white sand. Oh, you see there what I've done? I've said sound. That happens. That's why I've got to reread your work all the time. White sand, surrounded. Surrounded. Now, this is where I'm going to introduce this hint of negativity, the other world, the strange city, the strange dark city where people work too hard. White sand, surrounded by, and now look to the negative, by a weathered, dull, overtowering wall. I am going to use three. The power of three is really important in storytelling. It doesn't always work, but I want to use three to emphasise it. Surrounded by weathered, by a weathered, comma, worn, comma, imposing wall. Do you remember I said earlier that we might do something different with adjectives? This is a very common position for adjectives. Adjective, 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 noun. But look what else we can do. We can put the adjectives at the end. We don't expect it there. It's a little bit jarring. It creates tension and suspense. Surrounded by a wall. Look at this. Put the noun there. Surrounded by a wall. And then surrounded by a wall. Then put your adjectives. Surrounded by a wall. Then this trumpeted announcement using the colon. It's strong, it's certain. Worn. I'm going to just shuffle them around a bit. Worn, weathered, imposing. It makes for a more interesting read. Let's read that back. The beach was a long arc of glimmering unicorn white sand, surrounded by a wall. Worn, weathered, imposing. This is going to be utterly stunning, writers. Off you go. Let's move on to learning chunk 2. And this is going to be our moment where the reader is going to be really certain it's a first person narrative. We're going to build cohesion in and we're going to connect the action. Really important here are going to be these 3 pronouns. I, me and my. These are the 3 that tell the reader that this is Sean's story, but you're the writer. Okay, now we don't say Sean did this, Sean did that. We are Sean. Okay, What I want to do now is make it really clear to the reader that this is the moment that he sees this half octopus, semi-crab, industrial boiler living creature. And I want to move the action on now with almost like in an instant, right there in front of him. Let's gather some sentence starters to do that. I want it to feel quite chatty, telling of the story. This is the sort of thing I mean. Right before, look at me use this pronoun, my eyes. Right before my eyes. Or what about this? There, in front of me. Using this pronoun. There, in front of me. All of these will connect the action and carry them on. Okay, jotters, can you come up with some sentence starters? Okay, let's add more to the list. What about this? This is almost like the instant reaction idea. At that very moment. At that very moment. I think you'll have other instant time ideas. Let's audit and add. Okay, so we've gathered all of these ideas. We've made sure they're laced, if relevant, with me, my, or I. They help us keep the cohesion of present tense, and we are never going to use the name Sean. We now are Sean in this story. We're going to move over now to Word Bank 2, and I'm going to do some thesaurus thinking. Words in the family of weird. Ways to describe this creature. I'm going to write this down, but as I write it down, I'm not even sure if it's strong enough. This was a kind of a different, strange thing. A perplexing appearance. Perplexing. I love this word. Peculiar. Peculiar thing. Thing's a really good word here because we don't know how to categorise it ourselves or what it's called or what species it is. Thing really works with the writer's confusion. Can you add any more, jotters? Off you go. Many children trying to beat me with the words they come up with, or get a beginning clue as I start to write it down, and then guess it before I've finished writing it. Let's audit and add, everybody. Great work. Let's move over to writing side and see me pick up words like little stitches and weave the wonder of the words into a big chunk of sense. So what I'm going to do now is think very closely about what we're trying to do as a writer here. We're going to use the device repetition for effect. We're going to write a sentence and then we're going to repeat it with a little twist on it. Look how we do that. I'm going to take one of these moments over here, these sentence starters. At that very moment, all of a sudden, that's when I saw it. I like this. I might change it slightly. I'm going to bring it over here. That's, can you see how I've got the chatty rather than that is? I'm using the contracted form. That's when I first saw it. I like that. It. I could write it, but it's really important that I establish to the reader what's happening. That's when I first saw the thing. Much stronger. I don't know what to call it. That's when I first saw the thing. I'm going to repeat that sentence. And I'm going to add in an adjective. That's when I first saw the something thing. And I'm going to repeat it and choose one of my weird synonyms. That's when I first saw the perplexing thing, strange thing, eccentric, newfangled, curious. I like all of those. I think I'm going to have this word here, strange. That's when I saw the strange thing. Repetition for effect is a really good device to slow the reader down and emphasise, particularly in this writing, how unusual and peculiar this is. Now, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to take 3 of these weird adjectives, but I'm going to keep one the same. I'm going to keep strange in it. And then I've got a choice. I want to think about chatting really closely to the reader. This sort of idea. Actually, a really strange thing. I'm just noting some things down here. It was a strange thing for sure. It was a strange thing indeed. It was quite honestly a strange thing. Quite honestly, it was undoubtedly a strange thing. Now, some of these are going to be better at the beginning. Some of them are going to be better at the end. And some of them I could use in different positions or both. A strange, peculiar, odd thing, actually. Actually, a strange, odd thing. A strange, peculiar, odd thing for sure. I think these sound really good at the end. These sound better at the beginning. Quite honestly, a strange and peculiar, odd thing. Some things you just have to say out loud. I'm going to do this, I think. A strange, peculiar, odd thing. Indeed. Okay, I'm going to write these ideas over in my word bank while you're writing, so we don't lose them. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to finish off this chunk. Okay, I'm going to read my work back, this whole paragraph linked to this plot point. Let's have a read. Remember, when you read your work back, you're the writer, you're in charge. You can still make small edits and move things around. In fact, I've already made a decision to put worn here instead of here. And I'd missed my comma earlier, and this is your chance to check it and polish it. Here we go. A few summers ago, what appeared to be a very humdrum day suddenly turned into a very remarkable day. The beach was a long arc of glimmering unicorn white sand, surrounded by a wall, worn, weathered, imposing. That's when I first saw the thing. That's when I first saw the strange thing. A strange, peculiar, odd thing indeed. I've got what's known in the trade as writing tingles. This is going to be wonderful. I cannot wait to read your work. And if you want me to see your work, take a really good photograph of it and help your adult to take a good photograph of it and get it into me using the hashtag English with Mrs. C. I read all the work and it helps me choose who makes it on the celebration board, and you might find yourself on our community stack. We work together, we've got each other, we learn from each other, and we're here to make ourselves the best writers that we can be. Remember, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and please include your first name and age. So, that's the first lesson over, and tomorrow we're back here at 9:45 to get even better again. See you tomorrow, everybody.